Minutes ago.
Since his most recent victim is a newborn, Karmalo Anthony is now a threat to them. He will eventually have to deal with dangerous, deadly prison inmates, and the fear and chaos he is causing that are now being inflicted upon innocent families will not sit well with them. Since I served 10 years in prison myself, I can attest that many of those inmates are horrified by what he has done inside Texas state prisons. I've personally spoken to a number of these inmates, and they are horrified by the fact that many of them have lost their families. When Karmalo Anthony eventually gets to prison, something like this is almost certain to result in a vicious emotional outburst attack from an inmate. But I'll tell you everything. Let's begin. Just to give you a quick update, Karmalo Anthony's family and team's newest paid social media Black community activist, voice of the streets influencer Charleston White, whom we've discussed a lot, recently released a new video addressing the fact that Sarah Fields, the Texas-based investigative journalist who was in her hometown when this incident occurred, is exposing the facts, not her own story or opinions. I'm referring to information, records, reports, and proof. She lawfully obtains this and makes it public. Since they are aware that Karmalo is mistaken, Karmalo Anthony's team is furious about that. The whole evil, sadistic army behind Karmalo is being weaponized.
When this guy was just sitting in the wrong spot and they asked him to move, and he winds up stabbing my son in the heart and killing him.
Not only are they paying Charleston White, but they are also using this army as a weapon to target Sarah Fields, the investigative journalist who is probably in charge of 99% of the updates and information you see regarding the Karmalo Anthony case. And for that reason, they are furious with her. This information is being conveyed to her. This work is being done by her. You won't believe the lengths they have gone to in order to target this woman, her family, and her children. Not even hours after the birth of her newborn, they have already begun pursuing her. It's disgusting material. But first, let's start with what happened before this, and then I'll explain why prisoners in Texas prisons are angry about him and his team, and anything related to his name.
Track meet murder suspect Karmalo Anthony is back at home after he bonded out of jail. Earlier in the day, a judge agreed to reduce his $1 million bond to $250,000. The reduction came after Karmalo Anthony's parents testified during a bond reduction hearing, telling the judge that Karmalo Anthony was a straight-A student, the captain of both the football and track teams, and he had never been arrested before. Plus, he had 2 jobs.
You're accountable, Karmalo. They feel that way about what has happened to this family and the terrible things that have been done. I'll go over that, as well as how prisoners feel and what will actually happen to them after their time in prison. But first, with Charleston White creating this rather long video, it all reignited and popped up again. Just the highlights, please. Furthermore, this is in reaction to the fact that Sarah Fields is suing Charleston White for defamation due to the heinous and absurd statements he has made about her on the internet. This is Karmalo Anthony's new big frontline spokesperson and top dog. I had a good guess as to why she said that, but I'm not sure. Perhaps because you're on here boasting about your 5 houses, millions of dollars, and other such nonsense. It's possible that she and her attorneys were unaware of that. However, since you stated that in public, we may need to conduct further research and make sure that we modify our asking and lawsuit amounts appropriately. We were unaware that you owned 5 properties, though. We had no idea you had so many millions. Oh, I see. I appreciate you making that clear. Now, since this is absurd, I'll ask for more, as she ought to. As the general of Karmalo Anthony's family, team, and army, he is targeting her and using the Karmalo Anthony army as a weapon, both online and offline. He is the general, since only Sarah J. Fields is disclosing nearly 95%, if not more, of the case's facts, details, and reports. He is using everyone as a weapon against her. He is attempting to silence her and use every resource at his disposal to make her life as miserable as possible because of this. And let's discuss how he accomplished that. After discussing how he accomplished that, we'll discuss why, once more, you are allowing Karmalo Anthony, a piece of shit, to dabble in the criminal justice system, particularly in Texas. You are preparing him for destruction, my goodness. And prisoners have confirmed this to me. Before we discuss either of these, let's look at what Karmalo's team has weaponized their army to do to Sarah J. Fields alone. However, allow me to show you Sarah J. Fields' ex-com tweets regarding the bizarre things Karmalo Anthony and his crew have been doing to her.
And his lawyer seems like he's pulling out his playbook, girl.
Every Texan has the right to defend themselves when they reasonably fear for their life. Self-defense is a protection that applies to each and every one of us. There are two sides to every story.
Karmalo Anthony was released on an ankle monitor and required to stay at his parents' home.
We all know that Charleston White is a money-hungry man. When this first occurred and made headlines online, this man freely came out and publicly denounced Karmalo Anthony. Karmalo Anthony deserves life in prison, nothing less, he said, condemning him. Switched quickly after he was probably paid, because you know that when he comes out, we have to save him, Karmalo. Karmalo needs to be saved. Everyone joins forces to save Karmalo. By the way, Karmalo's father has raised more than $500,000 for Karmalo, and I recently had a few face-to-face conversations with him. Does that brief video demonstrate Charleston White's high regard for money? He is speaking to journalist Sarah J. Fields, who is revealing the details of Karmalo's murder of Austin Metcalf. There, Karmalo lacked any means of self-defense. Karmalo must leave because he is a murderer. He's talking to her about how she's exposing that, and then he's talking about the lawsuit she's bringing against him for the egregious and absurd claims he made against her in retaliation. Every path leads to the amount of money he has made, and will continue to make. That's all, see? That's his only concern. And your proof is there. I mean, what more evidence do you need than the fact that it's all in black and white? This man has been paid to publicly...
She's right. Sarah Fields is right. That Charleston White has been paid to attack her, to draw everybody's attention off of Karmalo Anthony and his no good, scheming, thieving, thuggish parents. His father is a fucking fugitive, been running from the law since 2009 or 2019, 1 or 2, and everything, and making more money off of the murder and everything, which is kind of sad, and everything like that. But you know how it is. They're going to do what they want to do to make that money. But they let throw the race card out there. Even though the Karmalo Anthony family lied to the judge saying he never been in criminal, never wrong. He been spinning in school one time, and 2 months prior he brought a knife to school and everything before this happening. So he was not no captain of his football team or captain of his track and field team. He was low grade. He had bad grades. They lied about it. We'll get back to it.
Change his mind, support Karmalo Anthony, and organize the evil, sadistic army that has been organized around Karmalo Anthony and his family to target anyone who is not only against him, but is merely attempting to present the objective, neutral facts. According to Sarah J. Field report, Karmalo Anthony supporters are now targeting me and using government agencies, CPS and LE, to carry out their dirty work in an attempt to silence my reporting on Austin Metcalf's murder. I've prayed over whether or not to make this public, and I've made the decision to do so because I want people to understand how severely I am currently being targeted for merely being the lead journalist covering the Metcalf Anthony case. My house was swatted on Sunday, August 24. She is pregnant in addition to the emotional pain this caused, particularly since I was past my due date. Guys, I'm really pregnant. We bounced back and were pleased with the department's handling of the situation. I went into labor that same evening. Listen, I understand that she was overdue. Although it could have happened at any time, one must consider whether the stress and anxiety of the slap caused her to go into labor earlier than she would have otherwise. This is absurd, really. Anyway, I went into labor that night. On the morning of August 25th, I went to the hospital after working from 11 p.m. to 3 o'clock a.m. at home. I was in active labor at the hospital at noon on the 25th. My teenage son called to inform me that Child Protective Services had arrived at our house. My family and I experienced severe and immediate emotional distress as a result, and I shouldn't have to explain it. This is the brief video, House. I won't ask you to say, to prove that I saw your younger brother, may I please have a look? Come here quickly, Indy, come on over here. Only cowards use the government to do their dirty work, she continues. I have never before discussed this incident in a public post. However, in the last week alone, Karmalo Anthony fans have posted numerous times regarding Sarah Fields' quote calling CPS. In their TikTok lives, they have talked about it, according to Tiffany Billions, another activist who is determined to ruin Sarah Field's life in every way possible, from merely revealing the essential details of the Karmalo case. They have a grand scheme, quote, to silence me through private Zoom meetings. And they have provided links to petitions urging people to contact CPS and request an investigation into my family and me. Thus, those are the lowest points to which Karmalo's crew will descend. Oh, he was justified in what he did, says everyone who is trying to support him. He was harassed, he is a hero, he made the correct decision. Together, they've swatted Austin Metcalf's family members at least 10 times. Anyone who dares to speak up and expose the facts that demonstrate Karmalo's bad character is now being swatted. They are now paying well-known online provocateurs to incite hatred toward this individual and probably others in the future, including me, which is acceptable. I have no obligations. I have no children. I have no obligations. It's just me, and I don't have any... Oh, and I don't fear the police. Dude, I spent 10 years in prison living in the exact same building as law enforcement, they would say if you switched me out and they showed up. Every half an hour, they would take a stroll. I am able to communicate. I'm capable of cooperating. I refuse to be swayed. I'm not going to be scared. I'll just comply, get down, and wait until they realize this is all bullshit before we can laugh together. Therefore, I don't give a damn. I'm not afraid of that. Well, but, sure. Someone who has never experienced this and has children, babies, and a family, well, that's terrible. That is essentially an attempt at murder. A lot more of the younger crowd is aware of the whole point of swatting a family. Perhaps some of you who are older than me, or somewhat older than me, are aware of the goal and intent of swatting someone, as they did to Sarah Fields the day she went into labor. You're hoping to convince the police of something so heinous that they will encircle their home with all of their might. That's why it's called SWAT, with all the bells and whistles. SWAT is what they want. They want the riot squad to have, say, 25 units with guns, snipers, shields, and flashbangs. People are bursting in through the windows and the door, As a SWAT, your ultimate objective is to report this anonymously and have the police arrive believing that something is happening. They take you by surprise. Naturally, you're just going about your daily business at home, most likely watching Netflix and eating some Chick-fil-A nuggets, when all of a sudden, the ding-dang special forces show up and demand your cooperation. It goes without saying that this is a nightmare or something otherworldly. Therefore, it is not that you are unwilling to cooperate. It's almost like what you would expect if you were a criminal and you were actually holding someone hostage, killing someone, kidnapping someone, or doing something else. You would at least know, oh man, they got me if the police arrived. I understand the purpose of this. They come with this kind of force, and it's even worse when you're just relaxing and going about your life as if nothing had happened. Well, that's not their fault. They really believe this to be true. When they break in, you're like, whoa. They believe that whatever was told to them is a true anonymous tip, and they're coming to save someone you've tied up in the basement or something. Get out, get out, get out, they say. Well, wait, what, you ask? You don't even, what exactly? You also refuse to cooperate. Boom, you have passed away. The swatters want that to occur. By doing that antonymously, they hope to kill you. They do it for that reason. In the midst of all this confusion and chaos, law enforcement is attempting to kill you. By doing this, Karmalo Anthony is attempting to kill an innocent woman, her family, and possibly even a newborn child. Let me tell you, they're not just swatting now because they have mobilized their troops to call CPS and do fake, he said. In an attempt to have Sarah Field's children taken away from her, one of whom she had about 30 hours ago. They are fabricating CPS reports simply because they are upset that someone is bringing to light that Karmalo Anthony is not a hero due to the fact that he stabbed a white boy, put an end to the crackers. These crackers need to start figuring out where they fit in because the white boy was racist, the black boy stabbed him. That is untrue. Sarah is revealing that it is untrue. Simply put, Karmalo was the bully who attacked and killed him for no other reason than that he was attempting to be a hero and defend his classmates from a possible mass shooter at school. That has angered them. Therefore, as Karmalo's army, we will stop at nothing to have you killed and your children taken away from you because you are revealing the truth about what a terrible person Karmalo was. That's how they do it. And take a look at my wealth, Charleston White, their ringleader. Take a look at my earnings. Take a look at how much more money I will earn. Money, money, money. Take a look at my wealth. I don't give a damn. I'm being sued. I'll do anything I want to you. I make a lot of money, so even if you sue me, I'll pay the money and still have millions more cash. All of this is going to go wrong with the prisoners because, let's face it, Karmalo will end up behind bars. How long, we don't know. I could make a good guess, but even I don't know. I could make an educated guess for you. I could share my experience-based opinion with you. However, I must inform you that Karmalo will be sent to a Texas state prison. I'm not sure how long, but it doesn't really matter because as of right now, inmates have told me that everything they've done isn't just my conjecture. If you're unfamiliar with me, check out my videos, my most popular videos, and my track record while incarcerated. I developed this brand by obtaining first-hand information on video, audio, and visual from prisoners in prisons that were relevant to the cases I was covering at the time. As an inmate in that prison with that individual, they told me what was going on, how they felt, and the general perspective and attitude toward this notoriously well-covered case in the media. Prisoner, prospective prisoner, whatever, I developed my brand in this way. Every report is returning from Texas. They're angry, and they've been angry for a while for a number of reasons. And they don't even need another excuse for their latest outburst. They are already so angry that they will harm him. The latest reason is that you are actively pushing your army to split up a new father from a new child, a new mother from a new child, and an innocent family. You're keeping them apart, even though they haven't done anything wrong. You are tearing them apart. And many prisoners can relate to this. I will explain why. You are free to think whatever you want about prisoners and inmates. They're terrible. They all committed crimes against innocent people. All of them are criminals. All of them are monsters. I won't argue with you about that. I was a monster when I did what I did. I was a monster when I was 19. Thank God I was caught and imprisoned for 10 years. This made sense to me, and I no longer even want to drive without a seatbelt. I don't violate the law. Perhaps they were a monster then, and perhaps they are a monster now. However, there are a lot of men there who have, been monsters and have done what they did and received their time. They received the punishment they were due, and after 10, 20, or 25 years, they have not changed. They've evolved. They are not the same individual. At 33, I am not the same person I was at 19. Breaking news, in a gas station I was unable to purchase a beer. I'm 33 now. I've evolved. Individuals change their ways and mindsets as they mature and grow up. Regretfully, when they do this, they undergo rehabilitation and change. Like me, they are prepared to be decent members of society, but what do you know, I have another 5, 6, or 7 years left. Even though I've learned my lesson, I can't possibly be a decent person for another 6.5 years. There are many inmates who are just like this, thus they hold that opinion. The fact that 90% of the time it's their own fault, their own doing, their own ruining, and their own doing is one of the deepest wounds for an inmate, and this hits home even if they haven't changed. I intended to say doing, but perhaps that's a combination word. Their own actions and destruction. They no longer communicate with their sons, daughters, nephews, nieces, baby cousins, grandchildren, and senior prisoners. There are prisoners there with wrinkles and white hair. They will never meet their grandchildren or great-grandchildren. They will never meet them or see them. And when they're lying in their icy metal bunk, an unforgiving slab of metal, and reflecting on how they messed up their lives, harmed their families, and lost contact with their children, it deeply hurts them.